What you're looking at is the inevitable. Yes, the electric car is becoming ever more pronounced in the automotive market. And whilst a little bit of my soul dies every time another bulbous electric SUV hits the market, I like to keep an open mind. So today I'm going to potentially have a revelation and drive this 2020 Audi E-Tron. Let's get into it. My name's Tom and you're watching Paragon Cars. Let's go. Similar to most cars we reviewed, this Audi E-Tron is for sale. So if you'd like to have a look at it or any other car, hit up the links in the description below. And by the way, if the link is no longer there, then that means the car is sold, obviously. Okay then, E-Tron time. It's a bit of a landmark car for Audi this, as it was the brand's first fully electric car. And you know what? I think it still looks the absolute business. Of course, being a landmark car means there's some interesting and not necessarily good quirks about this thing. But before we go through them, let's talk numbers. Being the 55 Quattro, it's got two electric motors that have a total output of 408 horsepower and a very healthy 664 Nm of torque. It should be mind-bendingly rapid then, right? Well, one problem, this thing weighs 2.5 tons. Yeah, those 95 kilowatt hours of batteries have to go somewhere, unfortunately. That means 0 to 60 is over with in a sort of respectable 5.4 seconds. What about once you're moving though? Does it do the usual electric car thing and die off? Let's do the 30 to 70 sprint and find out. So then, yes, it's fast. We managed 4.27 seconds, which for the power to weight is actually pretty impressive. That's right around the territory of a VW Golf R and Mercedes A45 AMG, so no complaints from me there. However, if you look closer at the chart, you'll notice there's quite a drop-off in acceleration. It goes from pulling 0.6 G at 30 miles an hour to just 0.2 G near 70. So Autobahn machine, this thing is not. Especially as it's limited to 120 miles an hour. Figures behind us then, let's talk quirks. One of the obvious ones is how you charge this thing. You have two charge ports either side, one for fast charging and one for slow charging at home. Awesome, right? Well, it's how you get to the port that's the issue. Yes, having a cool electric mechanism might look great, but I do worry about the longevity and reliability of something like that. Then there's the cup holders. They hold a bottle just about well enough, but they seem to be built into a chasm in the centre console for some reason. They're just a tad awkward to get to. Of course, there's also the infotainment, which is fully touchscreen. I obviously prefer physical switches, but I have to say, for a touchscreen, it is genuinely quite good. The haptic feedback really helps in letting you know you've actually pressed something, which is nice. Then there's the rest of the interior, and I mean, it does look gorgeous, doesn't it? Audi rarely miss on interior design, and I think this really does look the part. It's even fairly practical. There's a nice big felt-lined cubby space beside the driver, and a wireless phone charger that actually holds your phone in place. Then you come to the rear seats. They have eons of room for legs and heads, but little else. You get a climate vent, but being Audi, they have to leave something like cup holders for the rear armrest as an optional extra. Come on Audi, this thing was not a cheap car. Please include stuff like this as standard. Anyway, the boot, or should I say, the fruit. Yes, being electric means you get some storage under the bonnet, and whilst it's not a lot, it's a good place to keep charging cables. My only gripe with it is that it still opens like a regular bonnet with a latch, so you end up getting grubby fingers every time you open the damn thing. Let's go back to the boot though, as it's near perfect I'd say. Shopping hooks, a 12-volt socket and seats that fold down with the pull of a handle. Not having to push them down after you've pulled the handle is a massive pro in my book as well. Then there's the space itself. It's got more room than an Audi Q5 but less than a Q7. So overall still fairly good I'd say. Plus you get a lot of underfloor storage, especially when there's no spare wheel. Anyway, let's get on to some British roads, shall we? And silence. Blissful, isn't it? Yeah, we haven't reviewed an electric car in a while, so if you want to see another review of a very fast electric car, I'll put a link in the top right hand corner. But if you want to stay in pure serenity, keep watching the Audi E-Tron review. Now then, what's this thing like driving around town? Well, going over speed bumps, it's just wonderful. It's so quiet, it's comfortable, steering's nice and light, and obviously it's whisper quiet. So yeah, if you're hungover or if you've had a very long day, this is a fantastic car to get into. Oh dear, it appears we've had an accident. It's not a great junction, this. Watford Council, if you're watching, please do something about this junction. Hope that guy's got an ambulance on the way. Ouch. Talking of ambulances, there it is now. Perfect timing. Hopefully you'll be alright. But yeah, anyway, Audi E-Tron. It's all very exciting driving around London, isn't it? So, paddles, obviously they don't change gear because this car only has one gear. It just changes the regen braking. For me though, intuitively, if I'm clicking the plus sign, surely that should increase your regen braking? But it actually doesn't, it decreases it. If you want to increase your regen braking, you have to click on the minus there. But yeah, sitting in this thing, so comfortable. Again, this is kind of like the base E-Tron. So obviously it's the Quattro 55, which means you get more power than the base car. But the interior is pretty much base E-Tron. Just got the odd couple of options like auto fold mirrors, heated seats and stuff like that. But it is lovely. And the thing is, for a daily driver, if you want something that's kind of just very comfortable and gets the job done, electric cars do that quite well. Because they're just quiet, comfortable, and very easy to get on with, as long as you have somewhere to charge them at home. Which for many people isn't the case, unfortunately. Now then, in terms of parking this beast, it is fairly easy, I would say. It's kind of like Audi Q5 size. It's like in between a Q5 and a Q7, so it's not massive. Obviously you got reverse camera, lines telling you where you're going to go. It's nice and clear, good refresh rate, got plenty of steering angle as well. So yeah, getting into a space in one go is very easy indeed. My only gripe with this car is that you have these weird electric door handles. So they're not like a typical door handle where it's actually physically connected. This is, but that's for like emergency uses only. But you pull the door handle and it kind of has this like weird delay from opening the door. So like if I pull it and push straight away, so I'm pushing, so you get this like half a second delay. Anyway, enough complaining. Yeah, easy to get to the first notch, and to drive around London, it's a very easy car to live with, really. It's very hard to complain about. You get a nice high-ish driving position as well, so you can kind of see over cars at junctions, which is nice. And yeah, just no jerkiness, because obviously it's one gear. Obviously no start-stop, which is a good thing. So you come to a junction, you've got hill hold assist, so it'll hold us in place. And then obviously Quattro electric, put your foot down and you are just off. No delay, no fuss whatsoever. That's where electric cars are very, very good. Anyway, now let's reset our trip computer and see what miles per kilowatt hour we can do. According to Audi, this will do 2.4 to 2.6, maybe even 2.8 if you're very efficient on the WLTP cycle. And let's see how much range we're starting with actually, so we can compare it to how many miles we do. So 122 miles range, and we'll probably do around 30 to 45 miles. So let's see if the predicted range is actually accurate, because for an electric car that's actually really important. Anyway, before we get onto the motorway, as usual, let's take this thing to a roundabout and have a little fun. Okay then, let's get ourselves into dynamic. That will lower the air suspension one notch. Got the gearbox in S, which just means I've got more response. Crikey, that's quite quick. Then we just press the traction button, which is nice, to get the traction control off. Stability is still on though, so if you do get a bit too sideways, it will catch you still. Right, let's see what this understated weapon can do then. Alright, foot down. Oh my goodness. Yeah, electric motors obviously react quite quickly. Let's do that again. Let's go from 30. Oh my god. Oh. So, obviously a petrol car, you kind of build up this crescendo of acceleration. In an electric car, it is just doof, instant. Oh. And it does take your breath away just for a second. And to think this is just like middle of the range Audi electric SUV. They are getting ridiculously fast now, aren't they? Anyway, we know it's quick. Let's get ourselves into efficiency and see what kind of efficiency we can do. See if we can hit that 2.4 miles per kilowatt hour. And if we can, depending on where you charge this thing, that's similar to about 86 to 96 miles per gallon. You know, I'm not gonna say it is exactly that because it is heavily dependent on where you charge the thing. If you go to a pod point charger, this thing becomes about as expensive as your regular diesel hatchback to run, which is a bit unfortunate. But if you charge it at home overnight, then yes, it is a lot cheaper than your normal car. Anyway, coming onto the motorway, let's see if efficiency mode deadens the throttle a lot. A little bit. It's definitely a difference. So if I just plant my foot in efficiency, yeah, I mean it deadens the throttle a bit, but it's nothing too crazy. Anyway, coming onto the motorway, oh yes, just get the cruise control on, 70 miles an hour. We've got lane assist as well, so if I let go of the wheel, technically, it will keep us in lane. Just it did let me hit the rumble strip though. And yeah, it's just sublime. Got no engine purring away, which is a bit weird at first because it is kind of pick up everything else like the wind noise and road noise. But being an Audi, of course, the sound deadening is magic. It is so quiet in here. Even well above 70 miles an hour, you can have a perfectly normal sounding conversation in this thing. On a long journey, if it had the range, it would be one of the better cars to do some miles in. But yeah, I mean, seats are comfortable, visibility is good. Even though it's electric, very little to complain about, which is quite annoying. It's definitely better than the petrol equivalent on the motorway. It's just quiet. I hate to say it, but I do think this is kind of the future for just like the average Joe that's not really into cars. You just want something that you can get in, go, and it's just relaxing. Sorry, just before the motorway, I've just noticed something. So, if you're in comfort mode, the air suspension is on its middle setting, and it does feel very squishy and plush. But if you go into efficiency, the air suspension goes to its lowest setting. So obviously lowering the car must make it a bit more efficient. Didn't know that. Quite interesting. Anyway, let's actually get onto the motorway now. Well, look at that. The car actually does what Audi says it does. Well, pretty much. 0.1 of a mile per kilowatt off, but the motorway journey is fairly short. It's only like 15 miles, so I'll let it off there anyway. But yeah, 2.3 miles per kilowatt, that's not bad. Now 2.4. The problem is, for an electric car, that's not amazing. Teslas will beat that quite substantially. But, you know, this is a big, luxurious and heavy SUV. Anyway, let's now have some proper fun, get this thing on a B road, and see if an electric car can actually be just as fun as a petrol car. Hint, not quite. Okay, into dynamic, which actually raises the car from efficiency mode. Bit strange, that one. And let's get the traction back in sports. And that is all you need to do. Regen braking feels quite nice. The actual brakes themselves come in quite late, so it's quite a strong regen system in this. And obviously, throttle response is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Steering, typical Audi, it's a little bit dead. Like, it has weight to it, but it's just a bit meh, is the way I describe it. Let's see what the torque vectoring is like coming around here. So about half throttle, full throttle, bit of understeer, but undeniably stupendously fast. For an SUV, yeah, it's just so quick. It hurts me inside because I just know this is so much quicker than quite a few hot hatches. But is it fun? It's okay. It's a big, squishy, soft SUV, so it's kind of a one-trick pony a bit. It's just really the acceleration that kind of gets you. Like just planting your foot around a corner. It's just crazy in this thing. There's a bit of traffic today, so I'd have to be a tad careful. But it's just that. Oh, just so undeniably fast. I mean, look at that. It makes your stomach churn, it's so quick. Now let's see what the actual brakes are like. Yeah, up to 70. Slam on the brakes. Yeah, very nice transition between regen and actual braking, which is nice. Almost imperceivable actually, which is quite rare for an electric car. We have a nice circular steering wheel as well, which I do quite like. Means you know where your hands are going to be. Just look at that. So fast. It's just ridiculous how this is like a family car. Imagine passing your driver's test and then this is like the first car you get. I mean, you're going to have an accident in it so quickly. Good God. I think genuinely cars in the future, they're going to have to limit how fast you can go in them because... Or sorry, how quick you can go in them. Because the acceleration is just getting silly now. Alright, 100-yard marker, slam on the brakes. I mean, yeah, brakes are always good in Audis, very little to complain about there. Okay, let's give it the beans proper this time. Come off the throttle. Oh yeah, bit of movement, that's nice. We've got an RSQ3 in front of us now. Let's see if he wants to have a little tango. No, probably not. But it's cars like that I just kind of feel sorry for because it's just, you just rinse them, absolutely rinse them in this thing. And it's not because it's necessarily quicker, but it's that response that you get. You know, you're not waiting for the turbo to spool up or anything. Yeah, steering under braking is nice as well. It doesn't do that kind of like weird moving around thing that some hot hatches do. A lot of stiffly sprung cars tend to wiggle around under braking. This doesn't. It just stays nice and straight, or goes where you want it to go. And yeah, it's typical Audi in terms of actual handling. Suspension controls the body weight fairly well. You do feel the weight though, I will say that. And the actual chassis dynamics themselves are still very Audi. If you come off the throttle, tap the brake, it rotates nicely. But getting it to power oversteer is very, very difficult. I think you would have to be doing it on snow, realistically, to do anything super crazy in it. But I mean, this car's not really about stuff like that, is it? It's about being safe and quite quick. It's a very good 8/10 car, this. But just like, oh, it's just like a missile. Absolute weapon. Anyway, what does 2.5 tons of SUV feel like down a tight British B road? Let's go to one now and find out. Right then, let's have a go down here. My goodness. So the thing is, with electric cars, I know this isn't like an RS or anything, but it's just so fast that your senses are often just trying to catch up. Anyway, suspension down here, just fantastic. Air suspension in Audis is always very good. Body control, 2.5 tons, and it still controls it very nicely. Slam on the brakes, bit of trail breakage. And yeah, it's a bit weird. You get a little bit of understeer, but then the torque vectoring kind of kicks in and does its thing. Right, can we hit 60 before the corner? Let's go. My guess is yes. I mean, easily. That's probably one of the fastest 0 to 60s we've done. I mean, it says 5.7 seconds 0 to 60, but it's definitely quicker than that. I mean, just... Yeah, suspension, actually, Audi, well done on that. It's seriously competent. Seriously competent. I mean, you could take this thing to a track and it really would do quite well. I mean, you'd probably do 2 laps before you run out of battery, but that's another story. Right, let's go again. Ooh. It is just a roller coaster on wheels, this thing. And yeah, I can place it pretty much exactly where I want it. Whoa. Just so fast. It's so fast. I mean, just look at that. The response is just nuts. I like the regen braking noise as well. That woo sounds quite cool. Yeah, even if you plant your foot around the corner, it still feels very much 50-50. It's only when you start understeering does it ever shuffle any more power to the back. Right, one last time then. I mean, just... As soon as you hit 30 miles an hour, you can really feel the electric motors get into their stride. It's just rapid. Absolutely rapid. Yeah, steering again though still feels very Audi-like, but it's the suspension that, yeah, I mean, I really have to give it to them. It is seriously impressive. You can go down a B road in this thing so fast. Whoa. Actually made me feel a bit queasy. Right, I'm gonna have to redigest my breakfast now, and let's do a conclusion, I think. So then, now we've finished our driving, let's just check if the predicted range is actually accurate compared to the actual distance we've covered. So, just to make it clear, we've got 88 miles of range remaining. We started with 122. That means 34 miles of predicted range has gone down. And as you can see, we've only done 25.3 miles. That's nearly a 10-mile disparity. So if you are driving this thing a little bit quicker, a bit more aggressively than you normally would, the predicted range isn't that accurate, unfortunately. Anyway, time for a conclusion. So, is this the car for you? I'm going to say probably not. In your opinion, you know, you're going to have a set opinion in your head. However, as a petrol head, I do think this car really has its place. If you do have somewhere to charge it at home, it's only really going to be once a year that you're ever going to need to go to a pod point to charge the thing. So for most of the time, it does make a lot of sense. Obviously, if you don't have anywhere to charge at home and you live in London, then yeah, it's just not the car for you. I do think the infrastructure is just not there yet, especially after living with some electric cars for a bit. It's just lacking still, it really is. Even if you get to a pod point, some of them still aren't working. But again, if you've got somewhere to charge at home, I think it's an absolutely fantastic car. And if you have the funds to get this and then something like a BMW M2, absolutely go for it. This car, you can treat it like absolute crap and it will just work day in, day out without complaint. Obviously the servicing is easier as well. Yeah, and you've got an 8-year warranty on the battery. That's pretty decent by anyone's standards, really. So I just think, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. Which is annoying because I want to really dislike it. You know, that petrol head inside of me is just going like, it can't possibly be good. It can't possibly be good. But it is, unfortunately. It just is. Anyway, if you want to see more content like this, like and subscribe. And of course, these cars are for sale again. So if you do want to have a look at our website, link is in the description down below. This car's for sale and it's quite nice, which is really annoying me. But yeah, it is a absolutely lovely car. And again, if you've got somewhere to charge it at home, that is definitely the main thing I want to drive home on this. You absolutely must have somewhere to charge it at home. If you do, I would take it really seriously. It is a fantastic car to live with, super quiet on the motorway, and just very little to complain about. Anyway, my name's Tom, and you've been watching Paragon Cars. I'll see you on the next one. Bye bye.